All right, boys, welcome in episode 2 of Take It to the Bank. I'm Keg, as always. Got my guy Reed Cooper with me. Coop, it was a good week last week, my friend. First episode of the podcast. How you doing?
Very good, man. Had some hibachi tonight with some sushi.
Did you?
Yeah, man. I've been coming quite into the sushi, man.
You got, first of all, we'll touch on that. We'll touch on that on Sunday. But
Hey,
you managed to have hibachi before me. I never had it.
yeah. I left the guy $100 tip too.
Yeah, your ass. You left the guy $100 tip. All right. So let's start with the good news. We've cashed the ticket in every NASCAR Cup Series race this year and some qualifying. Last week, we told you our favorite driver was Kyle Busch. He got it done for us at 12-1, the best number that you can possibly get. Coop had Kyle Busch top 3 and top 5. That cashed. We hit 3 of the 7 top 10 bets that we had at Big Plus Money, so we scraped some profit there. The groups did not go as well as I thought they would. And Penske kind of got under my skin a little bit last week, but we'll get into that. But all in all, we can't complain, man. It's been a really hot start to the year.
Yeah, I had Kyle Busch over Chris Bell head-to-head too.
Right.
Yep.
So
it was a very good week.
Yeah, very good week, and that's coming off you and I hitting 40-1 on Stenhouse at Daytona. So I mean, it's been normally it takes us a couple weeks to catch our stride, but this year we hit it right out of the gate. So I'm really happy about that. So let's talk about the race. Takeaways from last week. What do you think?
Takeaways from last week, man. Chevy appears to have a edge on the teams that they're competing against so far. Kyle Busch is pretty good. Tyler Reddick, I think, and William Byron, probably the biggest disappointments from last week. We'll have to see. I'm sure they're going to bounce back when it is. Not sure. Could be this week. Who knows? There weren't many tire issues that I recall, other than Martin Truex having his. But there were quite a few wrecks, basically, not to do with the tire. So that was kind of interesting. One other thing to watch out for, they had that wreck on the restart that collected. It was the biggest wreck of the race. They've expanded that restart zone by 25 yards in the front, and then they extended it 25 yards in the back, so it's 50 yards bigger. So that possibly could have had something to do with that wreck, and maybe we see more wrecks in the restart zone this year. I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. Keep an eye on it. Nothing we can do about it. It is what it is, but just something to keep an eye on. But I thought it was an entertaining race overall. A lot of passing. We actually saw, Kyle Busch make a pass for the lead, which was a good thing, not in the first couple laps of a restart or anything, but during, a run. So that's encouraging, and I like that. But, nice little race we had last week.
I agree. That was encouraging because clean air was king last year when it came to the Cup Series, definitely. I thought that Kyle Busch and Ross Chastain's cars were really close. I guess Kyle was a little bit better late in that last run, but I mean, you can't say enough good things about Trackhouse. Suarez ran very well. Chastain was an absolute stud. I think that Kyle Larson would have had a top 5 car had you and I seen what he actually got to do last week. I thought that was a little unfortunate that he had the problem and we didn't really know where he was at. Penske, man, if you look at the numbers, Ryan Blaney and Joey Logano didn't have a bad week, but neither of them ever felt like they were in contention to get up there and compete with Busch and Chastain.
Joey was at the beginning of the race, but then Ryan had his issues and whatever. But Joey did not have a good third stage.
Marty was solid. Now you mentioned the penalty, so you told me he's going to drop 2 crew members, right, for the next couple of weeks.
Yeah, 2 weeks, down from 4 versus last year.
Yeah, I mean, he looked good. Denny at times I thought looked good. At times he didn't look very good. What did you think about Toyota?
I mean, I think they did better than what they did there last year when it was the first race, basically, and they had the overheating issues. But, still disappointing for them. I'm sure they're not happy. So, look for them to bounce back, possibly this week. But I think definitely on the short tracks as we get closer to them. So, we'll wait and see. It's still really young, early in the season. One last thing, I mentioned it several times on the live show, but shout out to freaking Corey LaJoie again.
Oh, here we go.
Freaking
Here we go.
top 15 finish, man.
He was literally moving people out of the way, and you just kept complimenting him.
But he had speed that entire race, man.
Yeah, he did.
If you look at the speed charts and all that, he was very, very good, man. Very good. Because typically in the past, Corey would take some advantages of, the attrition from other drivers and things of that nature. But that might have been the best race, minus a Talladega or Daytona that the guy's ever run.
It's just sticking with Toyota for a minute. If you would have asked me what was Chris Bell's speed rating coming out of Auto Club, I would have said, I don't even think he cracked the top 20 based on the way that he looked. But he was actually 9th. He actually wasn't that slow, but he just didn't seem like he was in contention at all to even sniff the top 5.
Yeah. Same with Reddick. Reddick has some decent times too.
Yeah, I agree.
They had issues finishing, and they never were in contention. Bell dropped back right away.
So I'll tell you 2 takeaways with from Chevy. Just talking about drivers. One, I thought Will Byron was pretty disappointing from the halfway point. From the halfway point of that race, right? And I thought that Chase Elliott, who severely struggled at times last year, I think on that 2 mile plus format, I thought that he was pretty consistently improving the entire day. And at the end of the race, he was there, man. He was there.
Yeah. It was almost like, I think it was Nashville last year, where, his car, he was just so. And then come to third stage, it's like he found a new car, man. And, it was really good. So, we'll have to see if that carries over for Josh Berry this weekend since Chase isn't around.
Yeah, so about a half an hour before Coop and I are recording this, it broke that Chase Elliott broke his leg or something, a snowboarding accident, and he's having surgery. He will not run on Sunday. Josh Berry will be in his car. And I'll tell you, Coop, my immediate reaction to that is...
I know what your immediate reaction, man, is you probably got really hard really quick.
Josh Berry season? Well, wait. Yeah. No, my immediate reaction was I thought that this race specifically was going to tell us a ton about Chase Elliott this season on 1.5 mile tracks, right? I mean, he struggles. He struggled at Vegas and Kansas last year. He only has 6 top 20s in the 12 races at Vegas. And while I was impressed with Elliott grinding his way forward at Auto Club, I had my concerns coming into this week, and I think he would have answered a lot of how the rest of the year would go on these cookie cutter ovals. And now we don't know.
Yeah.
That's unfortunate. Yeah, that sucks.
I mean, we'll have to wait and see how many weeks he misses.
Yeah, my guess is if he's having surgery, it's going to be more than a couple.
Yeah, I mean, I'll have to wait and see if his leg's in a cast or what part of the leg he broke, or ankle or foot or whatever. I mean, host of our, he broke his foot last year, right?
Yeah.
I remember him limping around on the crutches for, probably 6 to 8 weeks. But,
Yep.
I think he was driving for most of them. So we'll just have to
Yeah.
wait and see, man. These NASCAR drivers, they're not like NBA players. So they'll get around and get back in it.
He drove hurt definitely last year in the Truck Series for a little bit.
Mhm.
All right, so track talk. So where are we at right now? We're at Las Vegas, 1.5 mile track. The comps would be what? Kansas and Charlotte?
Kansas, but I don't know. These tracks are their own identity. We can use other ones as much as we want to, but it helps a little bit maybe. It could possibly hurt you depending upon how you look at it. But I would probably say last week's numbers, and then like you said, Kansas. But I don't know if I'm really weighing that much into Kansas because to me it's much smoother. It's just a different track.
So what did you look at? I know that when we spoke earlier in the week, you were like, I'm looking a little bit at how they looked at Fontana last week. And my question to you was, tire wear plays such a big role in the speed of these cars that I think it's really hard to pull a comparison from last week to this week. Don't you think?
Yeah, but I mean, I think from a tire wear perspective, Vegas is a lot closer to Fontana than what it is Kansas. And not to say that it's anywhere close to Fontana, but this track hasn't been paved since 2006, I think. Yeah. And I was reading somewhere where we saw more tire wear there last year because the temperatures were a little bit warmer too. Temperatures are going to be a little bit cooler this year, so I don't know if tire wear is going to come in. And like I said, it wasn't anything like Darlington, or it wasn't anything like what we saw last week. So, but we are seeing a little bit enough to where I think you're going to see some drivers take a shot at 2 tires versus 4 tires, or 4 tires versus 2 tires, whichever way you want to look at it.
I'll buy that. So looking at the board like we do every week, Kyle Busch, I don't think it's a surprise. He's an absolute monster at Vegas. He looked incredible last week. They made him the odds-on favorite early in the week at like 6-1, 6.5 to 1, maybe you found somewhere. And he's down to 5.5 to 1 currently at DraftKings. I'm just going to look at DK for the purposes of the video. 5.5 to 1. Kyle Larson 7 to 1. Your second choice. Chastain is 8 to 1. Logano's 8 to 1. Blaney is 9 to 1. Truex and Denny are around 10 to 1. And then it falls back basically. Byron Bell and Reddick are in that 12, 14 to 1 range. And then Harvick on back, it's basically 20 to 1 or higher. So I think, and I think you agree with me, it's really hard to bet Kyle Busch at 6 to 1 this week. Don't you agree?
Definitely. You mentioned last week he was really good at Fontana. Not sure, if he had the best car though, because
I agree. I think
a couple out. Definitely a top 3-4 car, no matter which way you look at it. But you talked about him being good here at Vegas, but he is good here at Vegas, but he's probably a step or two down of where he was good at Fontana. Like he's not like a clinch here at Vegas by any means whatsoever. He's good. Right. I don't know if it's a top 5 track for him, to be quite honest with you. If you look at his career stats,
they just always
I definitely feel comfortable saying Fontana is or was.
You know what it is? Every time he wins there, because it's his home track, they make such a big deal of him and his brother. Anytime they run well there.
So
You know what I
I'm
mean?
not trying to take anything away from the guy. We were both on him from the very beginning of the week, and he was very good. And we'll see how it rolls this week.
So second choice is Kyle Larson at 7-1. He might have had the best car on the track on Fontana. We'll never know, right? I expected him to be strong. You expected him to be strong. Historically, he's been a monster going to this week on these cookie cutter ovals. I expect him to compete for the win this week. And if you look at his races in Vegas, specifically the spring race, he's been a monster here in the spring. Average finish somewhere around 4.5. His last 2 spring races here, he ran first and second. He's probably been in the top 3 about 50% of the time the last 10 races here. So, I think he's going to be very, very good here and compete for a win. Can I bet him at 7-1? I don't know yet. He was one of the 3 or 4 cars I was trying to target going into the week. I know you were too. You think we could bet him at 7-1?
We can get him at 8. So I think
Where bet Fred?
Barstool had him at 8 too.
Oh, okay.
But I think he's going to be one of the cars I feel who's in jeopardy of, maybe maybe we lose that +8 and he ends up being 650 or 700 if we don't take him pre-qualifying, because I have a feeling he's going to be pretty good at qualifying.
Yeah, I kind of agree with you. I think he could win the pole. I think he's one of those cars that could win the pole, actually.
Yeah.
All right, so Chastain is 8-1. The most you and I have seen him this week has been what, 8.5-1, and it was like one place basically.
Yeah.
So
even that place is 8 now.
I've heard a lot of people talk about the right move is to wait for him because ordinarily he doesn't qualify all that well, and we might be able to get a better number on him live. Now, while I understand that he doesn't always qualify so well, have you taken a look at the 2 groups, the A and B group, to qualify?
Yeah. When I first looked at it, I felt that the B group was significantly weaker.
That's what I think too.
That's the one that Chastain's in.
Right.
And then I went back and looked at it, I think, again last night, and it's still weaker, but I don't think it's as weak as what I thought. And then, I just wanted to let you know that some of the names that qualified in the top 5 here the top 10 last year, went by the name of Ricky Stenhouse, Austin Dillon, Chase Briscoe, Austin Cindric. So, it's wide open, And I mean, even if you look at the trucks in the Xfinity tonight, like take Kyle Busch out of it and just look at the regulars, like neither one of the regulars that you would expect to do well in the qualifying were up there. Yeah. So, I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. But traditionally, Chastain is not a qualifier. And there's some drivers out there that just aren't very good qualifiers. And, Martin Truex, Kevin Harvick, they're not. And then you have some that are really good at it, like last year, Austin Cindric, Tyler Reddick, Chris Bell.
So Kyle Larson, right? He's up in the front couple rows a lot. So Coop likes Ross Chastain. I like Ross Chastain. I took the 8.5-1 because I didn't want to wait. Coop held off a little bit because he thought maybe he might be able to get a better number in qualifying. Here's my issue with that. What do you think that he is going to have to qualify out of in order for that number to get past 8.5-1?
Anywhere out of the top 10.
So you think if he starts 14th, they're moving that number
to 1,000?
I don't think they are, Coop. Not off last year and not off last week.
I think there was no qualifying last week though.
Yeah, I'm saying how his car ran last week.
Right. But they don't look at that. They're going to look at practice numbers. They're going to look at where the guy starts.
I agree with that.
What they're going to do,
with the exception of a few drivers, and I think that it doesn't matter where Kyle Larson qualifies. He ain't moving on 7-1.
Exactly, but I don't think Ross Chastain is in that Kyle Larson.
I agree. I agree with you that he's not quite there based off the last couple of years that Larson has had. But I think that they are going to be very hesitant to move those Trackhouse cars. And obviously, specifically Chastain, he's usually the better Trackhouse car. I don't know. I would be surprised if he's 10-1 tomorrow night.
And I mean, I think you're going to see a lot of movement in general because I think these books are going to overweigh practice and qualifying. I mean, qualifying is 1 lap, practice is 10 to 15 laps. And if there's a track, type of track that they run on that I feel practice means little to nothing next to Talladega and Daytona, it's the 1.5 miles.
Yeah, I mean, I don't necessarily disagree with that. I mean, listen, if he goes to 10-1, I'll just throw a couple more bucks on him. But I think that there's just as much of a chance as he isn't moving off that current number. So, Joey,
only time will tell, man.
yeah. The good news is we'll find that out tomorrow night.
One of us is going to be happy. The other one's going to be salty.
Well, I mean, I don't think you wouldn't be that upset. I mean, you're only getting what, 50 cents worse of a number if you took them. So I don't think it's a huge deal.
50.
Huh? No, I'm saying let's say he stays where he's at and he doesn't move. Right? I got him at plus 850. It's not a huge difference to you. Joey, so let's talk about Penske. They screwed us last week. They didn't do exactly what we thought, especially in those groups.
Joey Logano, I mean, we never were in on Blaney.
So what do you think about Penske this week? Historically, Joey's been pretty solid here.
I don't know. I mean, we'll have to wait. I mean, it's just so crazy, man. I almost felt like, we talked about it a lot last year. Once those cars remove themselves from clean air,
they fall through the field like a stone.
Right. Yeah. And, obviously Blaney had issues, but, and Logano didn't fall, but I mean, he fell from where he was to 10th.
Yeah.
Being a contender to win the race the first couple stages to, being an outcast in the third stage. So I don't know, man.
I'm
sure they're going to put down some fast laps. I mean, the numbers that are out there on them, 800, 900, 1,000, I just can't do that.
Yeah, that's kind of where I'm at too. I think Penske can run well on Sunday, but I'm not looking to pay for it to see it. And we're not going to get Ryan Blaney at 12-1 unless he qualifies, I don't know, outside the top 15, probably 20.
No, what's the worst number he's at right now? He's
right now. DK has 9-1 on Ryan Blaney. Logano's 8-1. Blaney's 9-1.
And he's 850 and they're 850 and 750.
He's 9-1 at Bet365.
So I'm taking Kyle Larson before that.
Oh my God, Coops. Hold on. We can end this debate now because Ross Chastain is 9-1 at Bet365. Son of a bitch. How does that number move before practice and qualifying, though? Jeez.
Is Logano and who's in front of him? Logano and Blaney?
Kyle Busch 5-1, Larson 7-1, Logano 8-1, Chastain 9-1, Blaney 9-1, Denny 10-1. Fuck, man.
Sorry.
Awesome.
What were you just saying a couple minutes ago about 50 cents?
Fuck. I don't want to talk about it. All right, let's move on.
And what was I saying?
Yeah.
What was I saying right before that? One of us is going to be happy, the other is going to be salty.
I thought I was going to wait till tomorrow to be salty. I didn't think it was going to happen 10 minutes after the conversation, bro. It's kind of hurting me a little bit.
That's crazy. I mean, like, what would make
we sat there for days looking at the numbers like, I don't know what's going to move. I don't know what's going to move. It's unbelievable. Unbelievable. That's all right. I'll throw more on them for spite. I don't care. We'll see what happens after practice and qualifying.
Right.
Welcome into the boys in the chat. What's going on, everybody? All right. So, Joe Gibbs, Marty, Denny, Bell, and Ty Gibbs. What do you expect from them? I know early in the week you were high on Denny Hamlin. I'm kind of higher on Marty than I am on Denny, if I'm being honest. But I'm not necessarily not high on Denny Hamlin. Chris Bell, I want to talk to you about. But before we get there, let's talk about Marty and Denny. What are your thoughts from those two? I think Marty's going to be real good on Sunday.
Yeah, I think Marty's going to be real good. I just don't know if he has a race-winning car. Because we talked about it, I think in the last week it was, like, did he have a race-winning car or did he have a top 5 car? And I think we all came to the consensus it would have been a top 5 car, not necessarily a race-winning car. So, that's the thing with Marty. Marty, I'll just live bet. I don't expect him to qualify, too well. We might even get a little bit better money on him, 1,400, somewhere in that ballpark. So we'll have to wait and see. Denny, I took Denny in a top 5 bet this week. Guys got 6 out of 8 top 5s in the last mile and a half tracks last year. 4 out of the last 6 here at Vegas. I just feel, he's going to be there at the end. I can get Denny at 12-1. I've been staring at the number all week on Bet Frederick, and I haven't done anything with it. Doubt if I do anything with it. And the reason I doubt it is because, we talk a lot about Joey Logano being one of them drivers who just ends up being there at the end. Well, I think Denny Hamlin's the same way.
Yeah, I don't disagree.
Denny didn't dominate by any means on these mile and a halves last year. I don't even think he led 100 laps between them, but he found a way to get there at the end. So that's kind of why I like him more for a top 5 than a pre-race bet to win. So wait and see. But it is, hard not to pull the trigger on a 12-1 Denny Hamlin because it's probably been a long time, since we've seen a 12-1 Denny Hamlin.
Yeah, I mean, last season, what was he? Basically 10-1 or less, pretty much all year.
Yeah. Yep.
So just following up on Marty, he's been really good at the track. I mean, his average finish here was like 6. I think that he was going to win. He was going to win the spring race last year, but a late pit stop cost him the shot. Right. I think he only has 1 win, but 5 top 5s, 9 top 10s in his last 10 here. And I might be wrong, but I think the aggregate of the 2 races at Vegas last year, he had the most average fastest laps of anybody on the track. Yeah, I'll check that, but I think that's true. So
definitely, I have a lot more interest in Martin Truex this year than what I had last year.
Yeah, ditto for sure. All right, Chris Bell. Chris Bell hasn't. I don't think he's looked great this year. Although if you look at the speed rankings, he didn't have a bad week last week. But I think, to me, he's probably my biggest wild card, I think, of any driver on the track. Has not looked great this year. Does that mean anything? No, because a lot of people struggle at Auto Club and run very well at Vegas. What we do know is, if you look at the fall races at Kansas and Vegas, he was the best car on the track in both races, and it's not even close when it comes to raw speed, right? Now, does that mean that he's going to be a monster here and show up for the first time this year? Not necessarily, but I don't know how to quantify how good he was here last year with the way he's looked so far this year, which I think has been unimpressive to me. So what do you think about Chris Bell?
I mean, I said it at the top of the show, you can put him in the group with Tyler Reddick and William Byron as wild cards. We don't know. Could they be in a little slump? Sure. Could it just been a bad race? Sure. Could it be the beginning of, a 2-month slump, or a little bit longer than what we think? Could be. Who knows? But we'll have to wait and see, because, if you remember Chris Bell last year, at the beginning of the year, he ran very, very good from a speed perspective. And there were a lot of races where he was in that contention for a good finish, but he had issues with his pit team, or he had issues finding, other carnage on the racetrack, or the carnage found him. And then sometime in the summer, it all started clicking, and all came together. So, who knows? Maybe he's just having a reverse part of last year. So, that's the hard part. Like Reddick, Byron, and Bell, we can't do anything until we see what happens this weekend with them on the track. I can't bet anyone on them.
Yeah. No, I'm with you. After Chris Bell and Byron, it's Tyler Reddick at 15-1. He hasn't looked great so far this year by any means. But I don't know how to quantify this new team. I don't know how long it's going to take him to get his groove. I don't know if he will get his groove. What we do know is when Kurt Busch was in that whip last year, it was phenomenal.
Yep.
So it's kind of hard to discount Tyler Reddick. Yeah, because it was so fast last year. How many times did Kurt Busch contend for a win in the first half of the year? He won one, got us one home, right? And he probably finished in the top 3 multiple times where he could have won. Tyler Reddick is a good enough driver to take advantage of a car like that, if the car is going to be like that. But it hasn't looked great so far, right?
Yeah, but I mean, and not all of it's been their fault, So, and what stinks about it is we know the numbers are good on him, and we'd like to bet him, but I just can't, carelessly, take a shot on him right now.
Oh, they posted odds on Josh Berry, 20-1.
Yeah,
for Sunday. All right, let's talk about Happy. What do you think about Stewart-Haas this week?
I told you I didn't have any positive feelings last week about Happy. I didn't have any negative feelings about Happy, and I'm in the same boat this week. I'm just neutral on Happy right now, man.
All right.
So he did better.
I'll allow it. I mean, he was one of the 3 best cars on the track the last quarter of the year, but I'll allow it.
He was good last week too, until that last stage, or not even the last stage, the last restart or two.
I agree. The one Hendrick car we didn't talk about, Alex Bowman. I think that he's got a shot to surprise people here.
Yeah, he's a defending champ, and we'll have to wait and see. But I feel more confident betting Alex Bowman than I do Tyler Reddick, William Byron, or Chris Bell.
I Tyler Reddick, Will Byron, or yeah, I probably do too. Yeah, I'll buy that.
I mean, he's been good every week this week, every week this year.
Yeah, I don't disagree. All right, Josh Berry, 20-1. We'll pass on him. The other Trackhouse car, two bets that I made. I know you made one of them. Daniel Suarez was phenomenal here last year, and he was phenomenal last week, and he was 50-1 on Monday night to win the race, which is patently absurd. We hopped on it. He's down to 25-1 now. It like down to 17-1 in the offshore market. I think 25-1 is probably where he should have opened at, in my opinion, probably where he should have been all week. I thought, 50-1 was crazy. We were able to get value there. But I'll be honest, Coop, I think Daniel Suarez could win the race on Sunday. I think he's going to be very good.
Yeah, I messaged you and at the beginning of the week, and I said, I'm looking for 3,000 to 4,000 on Daniel Suarez. I would have bet him. I would have bet him at 3,000.
Yeah, he was that all. He was that all week basically, but
right.
they
got
were
a great
couple
number.
outliers.
So,
yeah.
My only concern with Danny is finishing. He has that problem sometimes. Last week he was a solid car the entire race, but he couldn't take it to the next level. But good for him, he couldn't let it drop past that level either. So it was just a great race for him.
Yeah, you are right, though. There is something that sometimes when he's got a great car, he'll just sit in fourth place all day long.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And he'll never sniff the lead.
He can't get it to that next level for whatever reason.
Yeah, that's true. Right behind him, another car that I hit at 40-1. I threw a little bit of money on, not even a half unit, like a quarter of a unit. Bubba Wallace. I think that Bubba could be good here. I think he could finish in the top 5. If it all went right for Bubba Wallace, could he win the race on Sunday? I don't know. Maybe. But I think that number is objectively wrong at 40-1. Don't you think that number's wrong?
Number's wrong. I just didn't bet it.
Yeah, that's fair. Outside of that, is there anybody that you want to talk about 40-1 or lower? Jones, Briscoe, Kez, Dillon, anybody?
No, I mean, any of them drivers that do well, I'll be happy getting a 30-1 during the race, but I'm not going to bet them. I want to see, what they do.
Yeah, I agree. All right.
What's Ricky Stenhouse?
100-1 at DK, which means we could find a better number probably somewhere.
Right. He's done very well in this spring race.
Yeah. 100-1 at bet 365 also. All right. So looking at the other markets,
if you look at the winners, I think where we're at, you got Wallace. We both have Suarez. You have.
I know you will be on Chastain at some point, right? But I'm on him now.
Yeah.
Yeah. Outside of that, I think the only other car I came kind of close to
Larson.
Yeah. Right. And I would put after him, I kind of put like Denny and Marty in this little bubble that I think they have the possibility to be really, really good and have a car to compete. I also think they might.
I think we're both, in the same spot on Denny. You're a little bit higher on Marty than what I am. I don't not like him or anything. I think where you're at with Marty, I might be at with Blaney.
Okay. I'll buy that. I was going through the stats at what Ryan Blaney has done in Las Vegas, and he's been pretty good here. Oh, yeah. So yeah, I'll buy that. And I think if you were going to take your shot at a Penske car, I'm not paying 8-1 for Joey Logano, and I really don't think Austin Cindric is going to compete for a win. I kind of think it's Ryan Blaney or pass, right?
Right. But I mean, to that point, like I wouldn't bet Ryan Blaney right now at his number. I would rather bet Martin Truex.
Right.
So, right.
All right, so let's go. I looked at the top 3 markets. I didn't see anything I liked. Did you?
No. I mean, I don't have the backing of what we had last week with Kyle Busch to feel confident enough to bet a top 3 this week.
Okay. Now you said that you bet Denny Hamlin at plus 200 to hit the top 5. That number was available for probably 20 minutes maybe before the one spot pulled it, right? And it went down. Would you tell people to bet Denny Hamlin at plus 160 to crack the top 5, which I think you could find?
No, I would tell them to bet somebody else at another number.
Okay.
At that similar number.
Okay.
I really like Kyle Larson top 5. I think 155.
Yeah, I do too, Coop, but even money?
155.
Where?
Barstool.
Let me pull that.
You need to pay more attention to Barstool. What's the name of your show?
My website, you mean? Yeah. You know, I heard somebody on another NASCAR podcast talking about the top 10 markets at Barstool are by far the best top 10 markets. Like basically,
he's 125 now, so that has changed. He was 155.
I don't mind it at 155.
Hold on a minute. And Denny's dropped down to 185 now. So there has been some changing in that market. I would not be betting Kyle Larson at 125.
Would you bet?
155? I felt much better.
Would you tell people to bet Denny at plus 185?
No, that's a tight one, man. Because last week, and I told you this in chat, man, I held out on Denny. Because he was around 150, 120, 130, 140 at books earlier in the week. And last week I got Kyle Busch at plus 190 for a top 5.
Right.
And I didn't want to, I wanted that number, and I'm fortunate enough to get 200. It's 5 cents is different than what it was before, but I don't know.
That's fair to say.
Really felt good. I really felt good about that 200. Like if I saw it at 175, I don't know if I would have bet it or not.
That's fair.
So
that's fair.
I
also bet 2 top 5s. I took Daniel Suarez to hit the top 5 at plus 350. I think that number is absurd because I think he's going to have a top 5 car. I really do. The other top 5 car that I took a shot on Bubba. I think if it all goes well for Bubba, could he hit the top 5? Yeah. Why I bet it was because 6-1 to crack the top 5 when Kyle Busch is plus 500 in some shops to win the race. That feels like value to me because Bubba Wallace was very good last year on these tracks. So I took some value grabs. But I feel very good about Daniel Suarez. I would tell anybody to take the shot there at 3.5-1 if you can get it. If you don't want to take the flyer with me on Bubba at 6-1, I get it. There probably will be some people that don't want to. If I was going to tell you to bet one, it would be Suarez. What do you think about those 2 top 5, Scoop?
I think the numbers that you got were very, very good. My only issue with it is I could see both of them finishing 7th and 8th.
Yeah, I think that could happen. Sure, could happen, definitely.
Especially, and I could really see them being in the top 5, especially Suarez for a good part of the day, and then maybe just not having a good last run, or it was a restart that hurt him, or whatever it might be. And then finishing 7th or 8th. Like I think that if we ran this race 10 times, I think there's a better chance of them finishing 7th or 8th or they would finish 7th or 8th more often than what they finish in the top 5.
I agree with you on that.
But the numbers are great. The numbers are great.
Yeah, I agree. But I mean, like at plus 600, you basically got to crack the top 5 14% of the time, and you're gonna win. You know what I mean? So, but yeah, I agree. I agree with you. I could see them running. I can see them running 7th and 8th and falling just short myself. But I think the numbers were worth taking a shot. So manufacturer, Chevy's minus 125, Toyota plus 280, Ford plus 290. Would you take anybody against Chevy?
No.
Me either. Okay. Did you see? I got excited for a second when I saw the weekly special tab back at.
Yeah, I did too. I did too. And
I was like, "Here we go!" Yeah. And
Yeah.
it's one. It's one bullshit play on Kyle Busch to win the truck race, the Xfinity race, and the Cup race. Right. And the number is 25-1. You could have got 50-1 earlier in the week if you wanted to bet that.
And I was like, the first thing that came to my mind was like, hell yeah, baby, we're going to be able to bet Chevy top 1 and 2. You know, we went after that a lot last year.
Yeah,
and, you know, I spent a lot of the off season going through and looking at that. Like, you know, how many times did we see a manufacturer finish 1st and 2nd? And I'd have to look at my notes to get but I think it was 16 or 17 times. Half the time. 30, you know, and I would definitely bet Chevy to finish 1-2. You know, this race, because what was the other one that we were ripping off quite a bit in the weekly specials? Pole winner to be the
pole winner, right?
We didn't hit it, but we always looked at it.
Right. So. I agree though. Like when we were getting odds at like Chevy runs 1-2 at plus 350 or plus 400. I mean, we if you look at our win rate on the times that we bet, I bet you we hit that 75% of the times.
One of the other things while we're talking about this that I wanted to touch base with you on, let me be able to pull it up. Hold on. We didn't talk about it last week, but was winning team. And it's one of them bets that you just don't see that much anymore. We saw it quite frequently last year, but it's gone away. But my buddy, not your buddy, Fred, has that available. And when I first glanced at it, the numbers kind of were like, whoa, wait a minute now. I thought they were better than what we were getting on this last year. But it also could have been, you know, later in the season that I was thinking we were getting the rougher numbers than what we are. But they have HMS at 300 as the starter.
Okay.
Gibbs at 385, Penske at 400, RCR at 550, Trackhouse at 660.
Okay. I mean, I don't mind having both those Trackhouse cars, but none of the numbers that you threw out to me screamed like I have to bet that.
Right. But like, they're higher than what they were last year, aren't they? Like last year, I want to say they were like 150, 200, 250, 300, 350, 400.
Yeah, Hendrick was normally your favorite at somewhere around like 2.5-1, right?
Mm-hmm. I mean, 23XI is a plus 1320.
What book are you looking at? Oh, Betfred, right?
Yeah.
I can't wait until they get to Jersey.
They next to Caesars and Barstool, like they added more bets this week than what they had in the prior weeks.
Yeah.
So they're doing well.
Looking at the matchups, was there anything that you liked?
There was only one.
I saw it was two. They were like plus 140 or something like that. I forget who it was.
Daniel Suarez is a plus 120 over Tyler Reddick.
Yeah, I like that. That might have been the one. I have to look.
No, it wasn't the one. Because I'm getting it off of Betfred.
No, definitely wasn't the one.
So
yeah, I like that. I mean, I think we both expect Suarez to run well. Reddick's a question mark.
Right.
Yeah, I don't mind.
It's plus numbers. So that's the one I'm leaning toward. But again, like, I don't want to go too heavy on Danny Suarez either.
Sure.
Like, I had a lot of Kyle Busch last week, and I can understand that. I can't have that much Danny Suarez this week.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that. Yeah. I have a unit on him total. So
Right. That's good.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to go much more than that. Yeah, I'm with you. I agree. What about the groups?
That was the only head-to-head that I saw.
Yeah, I looking at the head-to-heads, Kyle, I mean, I guess you can make an argument for Kyle Larson at plus
I think 120, 125 maybe is was the best number against Kyle Busch.
Yeah. Oh, well, right now he's down to plus 105 at DK.
I think that's about what he's been all week. So
Bell or Truex, I mean, anything where you're laying a vig, we want no part of, obviously. So yeah. What about the groups, Coop? You see any groups that you like?
Yeah, I had a couple. Again, Betfred, and they might have even taken it down. I need to look because Chase Elliott was in it. Let's see if it's even still available.
Betfred.
It looks like it's been removed.
What was it?
It was Denny Hamlin at 250, I think. Hold on. Denny Hamlin at 275. Martin Truex at 250 over Chris Bell and Chase Elliott.
Okay.
So the only other one that I'm interested in is a Suarez.
Me too, bro. Suarez and Bubba.
Right.
Against who?
Well, I have two of them written down. One's at Betfred against Reddick and Austin Dillon. The other one is better numbers, but it's also at Caesars, which means it's against 4 drivers versus 3 drivers.
Right.
But it's Austin Dillon, Keselowski, Briscoe, and Jones.
Okay.
So
yeah, I'm with you, but it's another one of those things. Like, because I bet him to hit the top 5, I wouldn't invest any more money into
because like I'm at a crossing point. Like, do I like taking Suarez over Reddick versus a one-on-one at a cheaper number, or do I want to go for the bigger number, pull in Bubba? Probably not win as much as what I would with just betting Suarez straight out against Reddick, but have him beat 4 drivers. So that's what I'm going back and forth on.
Right. Yeah, I know what you mean. I mean, if you think about it, right? If you scrape 2 of the 4 and you get a winner home, you're probably gonna make around the same as if you just beat Reddick at plus 120.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah. I guess the upside though is if Suarez shits the bed, at least you still got Bubba.
Right. Yeah. Yep. Definitely.
Did you see anything in Top Manufacturer that you liked?
I have one down on MGM. It's Top Toyota. Denny Hamlin's 260, Truex is 290, and I think they're probably the 2 best Toyotas. But I was thinking, is this a way to get it on Bubba Wallace? Because
what number? 7-1-ish?
There was 9, now it's 8.
I mean, don't get me wrong. Denny, Marty, and Bell could all be very good. And who knows, like Reddick's a wild card. You don't know.
Mm-hmm.
That number's appealing, though, 8-1.
Right. But I mean, again, I'm going to be betting 3 drivers, and Bell and Reddick could take me down.
True.
If they're the top Toyota.
True.
So, especially, I'm just wanting to get in to play the 800 on Bubba. And I have Marty and Denny as my safety net to make a little bit of money if one of them were to win it versus Bubba.
I have a question about top Ford. If you were going to throw Penske out, right? Do you feel good that? Do you feel good about it would be Logano or Blaney to be the top Ford, or do you think Harvick and other drivers might be live?
If I was betting a top Ford, I think I would take my shot at, I don't know what it is at other books. I'm just looking at MGM right now, 1,100 for Keselowski.
That's a good, that's better. That's a better number than what I'm looking at. Yeah. So talk to me about that. Do you think Kez and Buescher are going to run well?
I mean, Keselowski came through last week at the end.
Yeah.
One thing you mentioned earlier that could have helped him was the tire wear last week, where this is going to be more natural speed, which could hurt him. So maybe he's not as good, or he's a slash down than what he was last week. I don't know. But I think I from a numbers, I would just rather take Keselowski at 1,100 than Harvick at 475 is what they had him on here.
Yeah, Barstool has him at like 5.5-1. But yeah, I'm with you though. I think if you're going to take a shot at a price.
Right. So kind of like what you're doing with the top 5s.
Right. Yeah. Well, I mean, to recap, Coop and I think I could speak for both of us, felt very good going in the last week. Like we felt like we had a very good handle on what we were going to see. This week, I kind of feel like a lot is up in the air, Coop. A lot. I don't feel anywhere near as good.
I mean, I feel good about Larson, and I feel good about Chastain.
Right.
I don't feel good about anything else because we have those 3 wild cards we talked about earlier. Blaney, Logano, Marty, Denny. There's just a lot out there, and then, Kyle Busch could just Kyle Busch us all.
Yeah, 100% he can. Yeah. I mean, I think Kyle Busch would be on our radar to bet if his number wasn't, a little crazy. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I think I'll have much more after the numbers come back out after P&Q tomorrow. Because I think, like I said, I think they're going to be aggressive with the drops or raising the numbers up. And it might intrigue me much more than what I'm intrigued right now. And, I just don't want to go out and throw a lot of money on uncertainty, especially where we're at right now, 3 weeks into the season and the results that we've had so far.
Oh, I hate to break it to you, but you and I are a victim of our own results, my friend, because people don't want to hear anything other than you and I cashing a ticket at this point. One thing before we recap what we're on, I want to talk to you about qualifying tomorrow. Do you think that there's anybody worth taking a shot on? My immediate reaction was I thought Larson, Busch, Bubba, and Bell could win the pole if it broke right. What do you think about qualifying? Anybody worth that you might take a shot on?
Well, one, I won't be taking any shots because 2, I don't have any to take. For whatever reason, like I know they're available on Barstool. and they're available on Caesars, but it's quirky. I don't have either one of them available for me.
Really?
No. You know how like sometimes like we'll get different numbers in different states
Yeah.
and different bets in different states, like
Yep.
for whatever reason.
Yep.
Like I don't have head-to-heads available for me on Caesars.
I was just saying that the other day. I will never understand why whatever bet you can get at Barstool in Virginia, I should be able to get in Jersey. It doesn't make sense.
But I said this earlier to you in probably one of my first messages to you this week about this race was I wanted a number on Cindric because Cindric is a very good qualifier. I don't know what number is available out there for him, but
I could try to.
I like it can't. It's got to be 3, 4, 5,000.
Yeah, you think he could? Let me see if I could find the number. Actually, signed, Mike. Signed. Are you in here, bro? Do you have anything on Austin Cindric to in terms of winning the pole, qualifying? All right. So to recap, Coop and I are on a lot less bets this week at this point in the week than we were last week. But get into the Sports Keg Discord. You'll know everything that Coop is on by the end of the weekend, or you can go to my website, barstoolquest.com, and all my plays will be on the spreadsheet before tomorrow. Before Sunday and Sunday morning. Before we go, we talked about the trucks. I took a half unit flyer on Ben Rhodes. I'm not even sure why, but I did. Kyle Busch looked like he had a wagon, but like you mentioned, there were 10 teams that didn't even make the race in time, and they weren't getting to the track till around 8:30. And a lot of people just went in race trim, right? At least 10 teams.
Yeah.
So
don't know which 10 teams, but I think there's going to be some faster trucks out there than what we saw in qualifying. Not to say that any one of them is going to be faster than Kyle Busch. And you said he brought a wagon. Isn't a wagon kind of slow?
No, wagon is a monster, Coop. A wagon means a monster.
We're talking different terms then.
Yeah. So I wasn't going to bet him at plus 180. I'm certainly not going to bet him at plus 110 or whatever his number is. I'll sit and I'll wait and I'll try to beat him live if I can. If not, Coop and I are perfectly content to just sit and watch the race tonight and not make any bets. What about tomorrow? Tomorrow, I know you like the Junior Motorsports. We were talking. Do you still feel that way?
I don't know. I need to look at it a little bit more because I was eating hibachi when all that went down. So I need to look at it a little bit more.
If we weren't recording a podcast, I would give you a timeout right now for the hibachi comment. So Cindric is 18-1 at Caesars, 22-1 at Barstool to win the
what?
18-1 at Caesars, 22-1 at Barstool.
What's the favorite?
Probably 7 or 8-1, if I had to guess.
What?
What's the favorite signed? Probably like Busch or Larson at like 7-1, something like that, if I had to guess.
Call me crazy, man, but like won't like pole qualifying bets like last year?
6.5-1.
10-1, 11-1 for the favorite?
No, because we were only getting 7-1 on driver to win the pole wins the race last year.
They had to have better numbers than that on. Because I remember like you could get good numbers, man, 30, 40, 50 on some of these drivers.
Yeah, so Larson is 7-1, Busch 6.5-1. So I guess they have faith in Cindric.
They tightened that up.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wouldn't be taking Cindric at 18-1 or whatever it was.
Yeah, all they do is tighten up, Coop. Me and you are just ducking and moving every year, trying to find it. All right, so to recap what we're on, we're both on Daniel Suarez. at 50 to 1 to win the race. I only threw a half unit on it. I'm pretty sure Coop only threw a half unit on it. Coop's on Denny Hamlin, top 5 at plus 200. I'm on Daniel Suarez, top 5 at plus 350 for a half unit. And Bubba Wallace, top 5 at 6 to 1 for a half unit. I'm the idiot that took Ross Chastain at 8.5 to 1. I will take him again for spite if he's 10 to 1 on Sunday morning. Aside from that, Coop and I will be adding more plays in our Discord and on the website this weekend. If you want to get an invitation to get into the Discord, just shoot me a DM on Twitter, and I will give you guys a link. And for the audio listeners only on Spotify, Apple, Google, thanks for listening, man. We appreciate you. Other than that, we'll be live all weekend long doing what we do. Good luck this weekend. Hopefully we make some money. If not, we'll be back next week. All right, we're out. Later.